and business development. And it was a real positive conversation. Look forward to having further discussions with our mayor and, of course, welcoming him to our chamber board of directors. His goal is really to work alongside community members to make all of our county a great and safe place to live, work, and raise a family. And that's something I can readily agree with. He was sworn into office on December 13th. And those that don't know, the mayor's office is responsible for really overseeing the official activities of unified government, working in conjunction with the Board of Commissioners and the county administrator. So at this time, I'd like to introduce and welcome the 31st mayor of Kansas City, Kansas, and the 5th mayor CEO since city county consolidation, which happened in '97. Please welcome Mayor Tyrone Garner. Mr. Mayor.
Hello, and thank you all so much. It's an honor and always a pleasure to talk to community folks that really have Wyandotte County at its forefront, and the best interest of all our residents is being a priority. So thank you so much. Just briefly, those of you that don't know me, I spent 32 years on the Kansas Police Department and rose to the rank of deputy chief, where I retired in 2019. I also was a board of trustee member with the Kansas Community College, where I chaired for a brief period of time the finance committee. And some of the things that you've seen that are really positive and profound out of the college. I worked with other trustees member to bring those things to realization. Everything from the childhood early development center, as well as our signage, the redoing of the sidewalks, the parking lot, the refurbishing of and beautification of what you see on the campus. And those are some of the things that I'm proud of, as well as the Veterans Center that were out there. So just some key things that kind of play into really when you look at economic development, and from that standpoint. And on the college, we wanted to increase our student body population, but we had to make the college more attractive. And we did all that while also holding the line on any tax increases or mill levy increases, whatever you want to call it. And so that is something that I worked hard with the other trustees, and that we were proud to get done. Also worked on was a CAC commissioner appointed by the governor of Kansas, and worked throughout the state. And that was pretty much a community organizing position, where I worked with the executive director, who is now is my chief of staff, Dr. Mildred Edwards, on finding solutions to problems that we know impacted the lives of people in the 3rd Congressional District in Kansas. So really proud of that involvement as well when it came to community organizing and really finding solutions to problems. As I looked at the chamber and the value that it holds, I'm real big on collaboration. I think that collaboration is key. When you bring the right stakeholders to the table, and we're talking about the issues that really impact Wyandotte County from a business perspective, and how we can enhance and improve that is really of great and utter importance to me. And talking with some of the chamber leadership, we have identified areas that we can improve those collaborations, not just with your mayor's office and with your administration, but also with some other key community stakeholders that share in the same type of vision of how to build and bring about a resurgent Wyandotte County. One of the things that I know we're looking at is downtown. That's really key. Lot 4, as you come into downtown Kansas City, Kansas, is something that my chief economic development advisor, Levert Murray, and he's online, has really been working hard on, as well as the Reardon Center. The goal of this mayor's office is to work with our administration and you and any other stakeholders that are out there on finding ways that we can bring back our one and only main event space that the Reardon Center represents, and how we can refurbish that and make it more attractive, and look for long-term resilience and sustainability in that regard, as well as that corridor that surrounds the Reardon Center as well. So I know Mr. Murray is working on that hard. And then when you go west, he's also looking at some development opportunities that exist out west, particularly in the Village West area, and going further into even further west into Bonner Edwardsville, how we can work with those communities as well. And then as we go and we move to that area at 435 North, before you hit the Missouri line, in that Walcott area, just looking at some ideas. In the northeast of Wyandotte County, really looking at some of the needs of those disenfranchised and disinvested areas. And not just the northeast, but when you look at downtown Armourdale, Rosedale, parts of Argentine, those opportunities exist, and infrastructure really has to be key to that. I just got back yesterday from the Nationals Mayor Conference in Washington, D.C., or had a good opportunity to really hear some good ideas and suggestions from other mayors, as well as some of the economic development opportunities that exist from our current administration and federal resources that are available to cities. And I'm anxious to really work with our staff here as well as you to see how we can leverage some of those opportunities to bring about and effectuate the most important needs when you're talking about business, when you're talking about infrastructure, when you're talking about economic development, when you're talking about small business incubators, and when you're talking about programs that really can help Wyandotte County get back on the map and really allow us to be a huge regional player when it comes to opportunities that exist. One thing that I've noted and that really is key to me is when you look at where Wyandotte County sits, and we all know this, it sits dead smack in the metropolitan metro area, surrounded by awesome highways and intersections. And there's a unique opportunity for us to really maximize that, especially when you see development to our neighbors to the south, to the east, to the north, and even to the west. But we don't see that level of resiliency and investment in Wyandotte County, especially in those disinvested areas, and more importantly, those areas east of 635, which I see as being a gold mine of opportunity that we need to maximize and work to really leverage good, responsible initiatives to where we can have sustainable and viable resources for our community. And so those are some of the things that we're looking at. But again, I get back to collaboration. This office, your administrator's office, we cannot do that alone. One of the things that we are looking at from the mayor's office, and you'll hear about this in short order, is we're commissioning several task force from this mayor's office. One will look at efficiencies. One of the first orders of business when you talk about efficiencies is BPU and how some of those issues that are out there that are relevant to BPU, how we can work with the board as well as the leadership within BPU to address some of the most dire concerns that our residents have with BPU, and not just throwing it all on BPU, but I've also given an expectation to our new county administrator, which we're very proud to have here, Ms. Cheryl Howerson Lee, and with her level of expertise and experience in government that she brings to the table, but looking at the pilot and how we can at least reduce the pilot in a way that's responsible, that will bring the relief that our residents have for so long been crying for, and not just our residents, but our businesses as well. That committee is going to be headed by Commissioner Ramirez. There's also a committee that we're looking at that is going to focus on homelessness and poverty and finding real solutions to some of these problems as far as recommendations are concerned. And that committee is going to be headed by Commissioner Andrew Davis. Commissioner Ramirez is also looking at a committee on public safety and how we can bring about real reforms that better reflect the values of Wyandotte County. We're looking at small business and how, and not just small business, but business in general, small and business and development, how we can streamline the process from point A to point B and coming up with good recommendations. Because we all know when you're talking business, from the developers and the business people that I've talked to, time is money. And so trying to come up with recommendations to where we can cut out the bureaucracy, we can shorten that time from point A to point B as far as development concerns, and really get responsible, sustainable developments here in Wyandotte County that otherwise we might miss because of some of the bureaucracy and the stalemates that a lot of our businesses and our developers are telling us that they've been experiencing. And so those committees are really key. And Commissioner Harold Johnson is going to be heading up that committee. So really excited about that. Dr. Edwards, I'm missing one. Dr. Edwards is one on. I think I might have missed 2 or 3. I don't have them sitting in front of me.
Yes, Mayor. Okay, so you talked about our Committee on Neighbors in Need and Unhoused Populations. You talked about our Committee on Community Safety and Justice. You've spoken about the Government Efficiencies Committee. I'm wondering if you were able to share about the Charter Reform Committee.
Yes, and that's key.
And then if you could also speak to the Community Health and Recreation Committee that we're developing.
Yes, the Charter Review Committee is going to be a committee made up of strictly commissioners, unified government commissioners, and really, Tom, that committee is really looking at ways to look at how we can improve the charter so it better reflects the values of where we want to be today, as well as better reflecting shared governance that some have said is an issue, as well as looking at ways that the charter can provide better governance to anybody that resides here and anybody that wants to call Wyandotte County home. And Tom Burrows, Commissioner Tom Burrows, who's also a representative, is going to be chairing that committee. Dr. Edwards, in the Arts Committee that you spoke about, Commissioner Markley is going to head that up as the chair, and that is looking at how we can leverage arts, those and recreation in our community, especially in those areas that have been disenfranchised and disinvested, to improve that dynamic in a way that we think would be valuable to Wyandotte County. So those are those committees, and that's just the first step of some of the things that they'll be doing. Those are their first priorities, but there are more priorities to become that will come. So stay tuned to that. One of the other things that I'm looking at is how we can better leverage the connectivity and open communication with our sister cities. When you talk about a unified government outside of Kansas City, Kansas, particularly Bonner Springs, Edwardsville, and Lake Rivera. And so those are the things that we're looking at. One thing that we've looked at is seeing how we can expand our livable neighborhoods to incorporate representatives from those communities so they can be part of a unified conversation in how to improve the dynamic of community within Wyandotte County and how neighbors can get involved in that. So we're really excited about that conversation as well. Economic development is really key to this mayor's office and to your administration, as well as I'm sure to you. We've got to leverage responsible development. I can tell you my position for those that you haven't followed me. I'm not anti-development or anti-incentives. My message is and will continue to be that they have to be responsible. What we want is developers to come into our town, but at least pay their fair share so we can broaden our tax base in a way that hopefully over time, as we get more development, will spur a leveling off and a reduction of our mill levy. And I can tell you that that was an expectation to our county administrator prior to her coming in. She's committed to that. Our CFO is committed to that. And so one of the things that we're really looking to do as we go into this budget process into 2022 is balancing the property valuations with mill levy decreases. And that's really key. So when you talk about reducing the pilot responsibly for residents, and when you talk about mill levy decreases that offsets the valuation increases, we see that as an opportunity that hopefully will spur interest in Wyandotte County, not just from folks that want to reside here, but from also the development economic development community that want to come in here and provide the jobs, the business apparatus, as well as the investment in Wyandotte County that so many want to see when you talk about growth and the resurgence, especially in those areas that have been disinvested. One of my biggest priorities, just for me, that I see is I see a line of economic segregation that exists, especially when you talk about Armourdale and the Northeast area of Wyandotte County. For the Northeast area, how do you improve that dynamic? I know talking to the Fairfax Industrial Association, they really want to see us look at opening the fire station. They believe that that is one of the key components to keep those key industries there, and as a way to attract additional industries to Fairfax. And so we're looking at how we can do that responsibly. When you talk about the Northeast, really looking at the Quindaro ruins and looking at options and prospects for leveraging that historic site that I would really like to see become a national historic site at some point. And this is just a vision, but working towards maybe a Smithsonian style museum that could bring about the jobs, the economic development, the rooftops, as well as the businesses, be it restaurants or mixed use properties that would need to be able to sustain what I believe is a development that would be a model and nationally, and that folks would want to come see here, right here in Wyandotte County, not just from our country, but from all over the world. When you talk about a development that really showcases not just Wyandotte County, but the historic nature of those enslaved individuals as they took the journey in the Underground Railroad from slavery to the free state of Kansas, how Mr. John Brown played into that, as well as other abolitionists, the Wyandotte Indians, as well as African Americans that really were really instrumental in that Quindaro town site being the historic centerpiece of what we see today. So looking at that as an opportunity. I see continued opportunities in Rosedale. When you talk about KU and what they can bring to the table and how we can leverage their vision and align it with the economic development opportunities that we so desperately need here in Wyandotte County. When you look at Armourdale and their master plan, infrastructure is really huge for the Armourdale area. There are huge opportunities there that exist for continued development. I know there's some proposals on the table that have been in talks to bring about some real viable economic development drivers in the Armourdale area. And so I'm excited. Argentine can't be left out of that equation as well. There's some opportunities for some maybe smaller scale economic development drivers there that we're looking at. And so there's a lot of opportunities that exist in Wyandotte County to really bring about business that can expand our tax base and provide the jobs and resources that not only our residents are asking for, but the goal is to bring people to Wyandotte County, but then anchor people right here in Wyandotte County, because this is the place that you've heard me say that they want to live, work, and raise their families. So that's just a broad vision of some of the things that this mayor's office is actually working on. Collaboration is key. I'm looking forward to continue building the relationship between this office, facilitating that an improved relationship between the administration and staff here at the Unified Government, as well as looking at how we can improve communication and collaboration with WEDC and what that looks like when you talk about the chamber. I can't leave our other taxing entities out of this equation, because if we're talking about taxes and how we lower them and how we bring about economic development, it has to be an all hands on deck, when you talk about stakeholders that have an interest in what goes on here in Wyandotte County. So when you talk about our school districts, I think they have to be at the table. When you talk about our community college, they have to be at the table. And we really have, we got to make sure that we never forget Bonner and Springs and Edwardsville and how they play into the overall viability of Wyandotte County. And so really looking at leveraging those opportunities to improve communication and collaboration with Bonner Springs and Edwardsville as well. So I don't want to take up too much of your time. I do want to allow a little time for questions. And so I just wanted to give you a broad Reader's Digest version of an overview of kind of my vision. And for those of you that have not followed me as I campaigned, but then also kind of give you an idea of where we're at today and maybe some thoughts on where we'd like to go moving forward. But as always, this isn't just about me or my staff or your unified government. It's about what we can do together. So any ideas and suggestions for opportunities that exist, we really want you to be open about those. We really want you to meet with us. We're looking to build and strengthen the relationship that we have with our business community, especially our chamber. And so any opportunities that you exist or some things that maybe we don't have on this broad checklist that I gave you that we need to take into consideration. Obviously, we are open to that, and we want to work towards the end of trying to do all we can to make Wyandotte County a city that is second to none, and that's the overriding goal. So thank you again, and hopefully I've given you a little insight, and if you allow me, I am open for just a few questions.
Thank you, Mayor. Really appreciate your comments. I saw that we've just been joined by two gentlemen that I'd like to acknowledge. First and foremost, Bill Upperheimer, our Congressional Forum Advisory Board President. Bill, good to have you. I'd like to give you an opportunity to share a few words. You're on mute. You'll need to unmute yourself, Bill.
I know you've got a PAL program, Police Athletic League, down at
You should be able to.
down off state. Can that be extended? I mean, that's mainly boxing, and they try to work with education, tutoring, I think. But can that be extended to a basketball area, a soccer area, a swimming pool area for the Northeast kids and youth, and somehow an education center to help them along with education? I know Eagle Project is down there for the preschool kids, but you need something for the older kids as well. That's my question. And again, can any of those infrastructure funds be used for that?
And Mayor, before you answer that, I think we have Bill unmuted now. Bill?
Thank you. Mayor, I'm happy to have you at our meeting, and you're welcome anytime. Thank you for acknowledging our importance in the community, and please feel free to ask to speak at any time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that. And second, I'd like to introduce our new 2022 Public Policy Chair, Committee Chair, Joab Ortiz. Joab?
My phone's not working. You guys
There
just
you
go
go.
ahead.
Okay.
You guys just go ahead. We got a lot of questions, I'm sure. I know there's a lot that's going on here. Glad that you're here, Mayor Garner. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Joab. Okay, Mayor, going back to Mr. Schmidt's question regarding the PAL Center, the possibility of extending the programming and the site.
Yes, that's a good question, and that is, and I apologize, I left out, we have several liaisons. One of them is a youth advocate. There's a Mr. Moses Wyatt Jr., as well as JD Rios. For those of you that know him, he's also our education liaison. Judy Ansel is liaison to labor and labor relations. And then we also have a new individual. Dr. Edwards, you want to introduce her? Still there?
I'm here.
Yeah.
I have to get to my microphone, so I apologize to you. I'm not so quick on the draw. Oh, there, I'm still open. Okay, so yes, we just brought on board and are very proud to announce that Connie Tao has consented to serve in the capacity of community engagement liaison. And so she'll be helping us to mobilize our cultural, racial, and/or age-related residents toward identifying any needs, programmatic concerns, and increasing their access to government resources.
Thank you, Dr. Edwards. And so all those liaisons are really key to your question because they all fit in. One of the things that we're looking at is how to expand youth engagement, youth mentorship. One of the things that I know Mr. Levert Murray is working on with our administration staff here at the Unified Government is how to responsibly open Parkwood Pool in a way that will be of value, not just to the Northeast, but to anybody in Wyandotte County, because that is our one Kansas City, Kansas public pool. Keeping that pool as part of our unified government body in Parks and Rec, as opposed to bending it out, is a goal of this office. The challenge is finding the lifeguards for that, but we are on a pathway of trying to at least get some solutions in place to get the pool open. To answer your question about the PAL program, the PAL program is awesome. I was on the police department as that program was being developed. It has a lot of value, along with the OK program that the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department has in place. And that is one of the things we're looking at expanding too. But just outside those programs, how do we integrate those types of valuable programs into our community centers? Investing in those community centers and those recreation centers is key. Part of the problem that has been brought to me as I campaigned is the fees associated with some of these activities. When you talk about our economically distressed community and those that are low income, some of the fees associated with not just the programming, but even utilizing some of these facilities are cost prohibitive to a lot of our young people and their families. So really looking at those fees, looking at those programs, and looking at how we can better serve. And I do believe that, yes, the ARPA funding is something that we look at. I know that Commissioner Markley and Commissioner Davis are on that committee. I know Commissioner Davis has really been a strong advocate of youth programs and really looking at how we can enhance that. And this mayor's office is totally in support of that, because we often talk about our youth being the future, but in reality, our youth are here today. And we've got to cultivate these young folks and the leaders. I'm happy to announce to you all that these liaison additions to this mayor's office are also looking at a youth summit, that hopefully will champion and highlight STEM within our youth, as well as the arts, and to a smaller extent, those that have really awesome athletic ability, and really looking at how we can leverage resources, not just from our school districts, but also building those partnerships in a way to where those youth that are exceptional, we can find a way to get them scholarships to either KC Kansas Community College or to Donnelly College. And that's the overriding goal, is to really promote, provide training opportunities, internships, mentoring, and hopefully higher education to our young folks, and encouraging them to, once they get all that, encouraging to stay right here in Kansas City, Kansas, and either start their professional careers, start a business, hopefully, and entrepreneurship is really key when you talk about startups and really maximizing those opportunities for our young people to really want to start their own businesses, become those entrepreneurs that hopefully provide the resources and jobs from a ground up, grassroots perspective that would be valuable to Wyandotte County. One of the visions I didn't talk about it is I grew up in San Jose, California, and I was there during the time before Silicon Valley became Silicon Valley as we know it today. Some of those really multi-million-dollar companies started off as startups. And so I think there's a great opportunity if we do our investments right and we look at leveraging responsible and sustainable startup and small business prospects that they might be able to be cultivated into being that next big thing that is arrives and could be anchored right here in Wyandotte County. So, but youth, getting back to your question, our youth are important, and we are looking at ways that we can cultivate future leaders that can bring those talents back to Wyandotte County, and hopefully, what I always say, they can live, work, and raise their families right here.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm working my way through the questions here in the chat box. We have a question. What are your primary concerns for the business community and how do you plan to address them? And also, how can the KCK Chamber help you address those?
Well, I think the biggest thing, what I've heard is taxes. Taxes, taxes, taxes. We've got to find a way to reduce our property tax burden. If we don't do that, as well as look at ways to reduce the pilot, it really doesn't offer a real unique opportunity for us to attract the type of businesses that we need and that we want, and that could be of value to Wyandotte County. So I think that's key. I think I talked about it. The committee, we've got to streamline our processes. We've got to make it more attractive for businesses to come in here and to get from point A to point B. If they have responsible, sustainable developments that they want to bring here, getting rid of the bureaucracy, some of the burdensome fees that exist, to make it more attractive for them to want to do business in Wyandotte County. I think those are the top three things: the pilot, property taxes, as well as making it more attractive by removing the bureaucracy of doing business with our local government. I think those are the top three things that I've been hearing are really key, as well as, and I talked about this earlier, as well as improving the collaboration between some of our economic driving stakeholders, such as yourself. But then also on the other end of that is education. We've got to make sure that we have a workforce that is trained and is available and provide the type of skills necessary for these businesses, not to just want to come here, but for them to be sustainable and for them to strive and be successful in their business operation in Wyandotte County. So I think those are in my opinion, those are the biggest things that we need to look at, and we need to find ways to improve that dynamic to attract the type of businesses that we want.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a question in the chat from Mr. Craig Gaffney with Country Club Bank. Mayor, could you give us your thoughts and perspectives on the home field project, the former Schlitterbahn site?
That was a project that was originated from the previous administration. There are some additional things that have been proposed that may come online, and I'll let Mr. Levert Murray, my Chief Economic Development Advisor, talk about his findings and the recommendations he's given to me and to the administration in that regard, as well as some of the new things that are being asked that they would like to see come online with that project. So, Mr. Murray, you're on mute, Mr. Murray. You got to take yourself off mute, Levert.
There
There
we
you go.
go. I think I'm now off unmute. How's everybody? I see a lot of old friends. And Craig, I'm happy you're interested in home field. And we've given home field a very thorough financial review here recently. We have been working also with the state representatives who are responsible for and in charge of reviewing the STAR bonds that are proposed to be issued for this project. And I will tell you that those reviews, as well as reviews by our bond counsel, have found this project to be viable, and we expect success out of home field. Now, home field is more than just baseball parks. There's some other developments that we'd like to have the developers present to our community rather than stealing their thunder and make the announcement for them. But I think the community will find these other developments to be quite positive. And certainly we think that with the reviews and the pieces in place, they have everything to make it successful, and it represents a great alternative, if you will, to Slitterbomb, since home field will exist on the old Slitterbomb site. So again, we find it to be a viable project, and we expect success.
Thanks, Laverne. It's great to hear your voice.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Appreciate that. We have a question in the chat regarding the mayor's task forces. Can citizens be a part of the task forces, and what does that process look like?
Yes, and my chief of staff, Dr. Milgary, she is really taking that vision that I had, and she's working on facilitating those logistics. So I'll let her speak in depth more about that.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not certain if you noted that each of the committees will be chaired by members from our Board of Commissioners. And so they will not only be mobilizing to make sure that citizens, our local residents, have a way of joining the committees. We too here at the office would love to receive your feedback. I see 2 individuals so far in the chat have expressed their interest, and we certainly would love to have a conversation with you. Taylor, the executive assistant to the mayor, is taking note of your information. So I'd also ask that you include in the chat a way that we could respond and reach back out to you and give you more information about the committees via email. So we welcome your involvement. We certainly would love to have your expertise at the table as we're looking at all of these committees. We have a total of 7, and the mayor noted each of those committees and their area of involvement. We are putting together councils as well that are specific to community-based needs. So we'll be looking at a council that will be mobilizing around community satisfaction, quality of life, a community-wide assessment to address those issues. We'll be developing a mayor's youth council. Mayor noted that we'll be hosting a youth summit, so that'll be coming down the pike. And we're looking to develop a council of clergy, and we'll be hosting a virtual mayor's prayer breakfast in February, and we certainly would welcome your recommendations for clergy and faith leaders that would be willing to serve in that capacity. So reach out to us. You could email us twash@wycokck.org, or myself, M. Edwards, same email address, wycokck.org, and we will get you plugged in. And I would love to have a conversation with you to get you involved, and certainly appreciate your support. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Dr. Edwards. Mayor, we have another question. Can you expand, and you touched on this a little bit, your plans to increase transparency and access to community resources for businesses, startups, job opportunities, and grants?
Well, I know in talking with the chamber, and I see that as an awesome opportunity. When you talk about really looking at how we can have small business incubators, and really working with our staff here at the Unified Government on identifying those grant opportunities, leveraging resources that we know are available, and then working with the chamber and other stakeholders to educate and provide packets and of information to our entrepreneurs, our small businesses, and businesses in general on the processes, the contacts, and as well as giving them a roadmap that hopefully they can help them be successful. And one thing that I left out, but I really think is key to this, and I know this isn't a question, but before I forget it, because I didn't want to forget it, it's one thing. We also really want to leverage and build those strong partnerships with our Wyandotte County state delegation. There is a huge amount of asks that have come from our unified government, a Christmas list, laundry list, whatever you want to call it, that has been given to our delegation. But all those asks and those needs are really relevant. And they're not just asks as far as just things that are in excess. Those things represent real-time needs when you talk about things that impact the lives of our citizens and residents here in Wyandotte County. So building and strengthening that relationship with our Wyandotte County delegation, as well as our other representatives, especially Sharice Davis. And one of the big issues really that is key for Wyandotte County is the redistricting and how that could impact business, investment, the resources that are given to Wyandotte County. I think those are really things, really important things that we need to look at when we talk about our delegations at the state and federal level, and making sure that we come together as a unified committee in one voice to support those things of value and of interest, of shared interest in Wyandotte County, and doing everything that we can to make sure that our delegations are successful in doing their best to try and get the things that we know are of value and of the utmost important to all of Wyandotte County. And so those are really key and big when you talk about our residents and business and development in Wyandotte County. So I would be remiss if I left the importance and the value that our state and federal representatives had and some of the issues that they're facing moving forward. Now, one of the positives for those of you who did have the opportunity to listen to Governor Kelly's State of the State address, historic surpluses under her leadership, which is awesome, which is an awesome, just, I don't have the words for it, looking for where we came to where we're at, and the ability for us to really just work with our state partners to really, hopefully, have some asks and be able to get some leverage of resources that are available to help with things like infrastructure, which is really key, especially when you talk about stormwater, our bridges, our roads, even our sidewalks. Again, I left the National Mayors Conference yesterday, and one of the key things that a lot of the national mayors were talking about was infrastructure. That was huge. And how to leverage those dollars is really going to be key to Wyandotte County, because we do have an aging infrastructure. Transportation is key to that. So those two things are really of the utmost importance in Wyandotte County, because those really play into attracting business outside of property taxes and in our pilot and those types of things. But we got to make sure that our infrastructure and that the transportation needs that really can be of such that can be that can enhance the economic drivers that we seek right here in Wyandotte County. So I just wanted to share that with you as well.
Thank you, Mayor. Looks like we're coming up on time. I do want to offer our board chair an opportunity to close us out. David?
Thank you, Daniel. Well, I just wanted to, Mayor, first of all, Mr. Mayor, thank you for your time. Very informative. You've got a big job. You're a big man. I know you'll be able to accomplish the tasks at hand, and the Chamber wants to work with you on business issues. We've had a discussion on that. We want to continue to have discussions with you, and remind you that we have our first board meeting for the Chamber Board for January for 2022, and that will be coming up on Wednesday, the 26th, at 4 p.m. at the Chamber offices or via Zoom. And Mr. Mayor, we hope you can join us, as you will be a member of our Board of Directors. I know you're busy, but we hope to reconnect real soon. Everyone else, stay warm, have a fabulous weekend, stay safe, and go Chiefs. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.